Right, ladies and gentlemen, this session is being recorded. If you do have any background noise on your side, please do mute yourself. Otherwise, we're looking forward to a nice engagement this morning. All of my team are online today, which is really great, and they're all co-hosts, so they're going to be controlling the waiting room and the muting and all those fun things. We welcome you to our September webinar. How exciting that it's this time of year already. I saw my very first Christmas post today on Facebook. There was a company of sorts advertising some Christmas decorations. I haven't even started buying things for Halloween just yet, and now it's Christmas already, and before you know it, it's back to school and Valentine's Day. So all the time flies very, very fast when you're having fun. The team and I were very fortunate to be in Pretoria 2 days ago for our Let's Get Physical event, and we'll be hosting another one in the new year. Durban is the next place that we'll be going to. We're excited about that. If you do have some background noise, please don't forget to mute yourself. Thank you so much. Carl, over to you to give our audience a couple more messages about the events and all of those fun things. Is it Carl or Nicole? I'm not too sure which one of you are going to talk next.
I think it's you first.
There we go.
Right, thanks, Linda. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a reminder, as Linda's also already said, if everyone can just please stay on mute. And also, again, this webinar will be recorded and later published on our YouTube and website platforms. So please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, before we get started, just a reminder that NAMA will be from the 12th to the 14th of next month, which is October. So please register if you're interested and do come and stop by and say hi to us. We will be there. So Linda, along with Puna LaRue from Meeting Pal, will be talking about professionalizing meetings, and there will even be a cocktail and gala dinner to attend. I will post a link as well for that to register in the chat. If you haven't already, please sign up to our newsletter for the latest updates in community schemes and also for Nicole's neighborly advice. I'm also going to add the links for some upcoming events in the chat. And I'm now going to hand over to Nicole, who will introduce the speakers.
Good morning, everyone. So happy to see everyone here this morning. I have the honor of introducing our insurance specialists this morning. So first up, we have Nadine Jansen van Vuuren. Nadine started her insurance journey working in her father's brokerage in 2010, whereafter her love for the industry grew on a daily basis. He gave her a vision of what insurance can be like and how brokers can make a difference in their clients' lives. From brokerages to UMAs to insurance companies, Nadine has years of specialist experience in community scheme insurance. She was instrumental in implementing products and policy wordings specific to community schemes. While Nadine focuses on her specialist passion, she also facilitates personal lines and commercial businesses as well. Okay. Nevin Sandra is the Technical Underwriter Manager at HIC Underwriting Managers and has held this position for over 12 years. He has been employed in the financial services sector for over 34 years, which has included an 8-month stint working for a stockbroker in Diagonal Street during the 1987 stock market crash. That must have been quite an experience at the time. He also has had stints at the Southern Life Association in the Life Accounts Division, Mutual and Federal OMI Engineering Division on both claims and underwriting, and Guardian National/Santam in various divisions and roles over 15 years, which also gave him exposure in the head office management of technical underwriting in commercial, corporate, personal lines, and even further niche underwriting of aviation, agri and aquaculture, marine, specialist liability, hospitality, travel, thatch, and sectional. Nevin has held technical underwriting roles since 2001. He is passionate about underwriting and is always ready, willing, and delighted to learn something new every day and share that knowledge and experience with others. Sorry.
For those of you that's got some background noise, sorry to interrupt you, Nicole, please do mute yourself. Thank you.
And our last speaker, Oscar Walter, has had over 30 years of experience in the insurance industry, having had multiple roles across underwriting and in sales. He joined the CIB team with the acquisition with FPA Underwriting Managers in 2017. Oscar represents CIB's Specialized Buildings as an underwriting portfolio manager and is situated in Cape Town. His knowledge on specialized buildings and underwritings has played an instrumental role to the success of CIB becoming one of the largest underwriting managers in South Africa. I'm not sure who's going to open, but on to the speakers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. Sandra commented in the chat function, wow, way before my time. Diagonal Street, so different today. We're all in Santa now. How cool, Sandra. This is just up your alley. So I'm hoping that you're going to pose a couple of questions to our speakers today. Ladies and gents, thank you so much. Nadine, over to you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all those introductions. That was really nice. We had a chat. It's lovely to see every one of you here today. I did tell everyone beforehand, I am extremely Afrikaans. So if there's any airtime running out, please jump in and assist where you can. We had a dry run before where we discussed questions and how we would want to discuss all these questions. And if there's anything that you guys would want to know, please feel free to get in the chat box. Any questions relating to the question or anything else that you guys can think about, please just pop a chat in the chat box for us. Perfect. Then we're going to start with, I have 10 questions with me. We are going to start with Nevin's. Nevin, are you here?
Nevin, just unmute yourself. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
Yes.
Okay. So we have 10 questions lined up, and we're going to ask the questions between Nevins and Oscar, and then whenever they feel something can merge or they can add to anything, they will just jump in on that questions. Nevins.
Yeah, Nadine, can I just correct you quickly? It's spelled Nevin, pronounced Nevin.
Oh, sorry, Nevin. Sorry,
Nevin,
your email address is Nevin.
Nevin.
Sorry about that.
Some people call me Sandra, which I was responding
okay, yeah,
to
your email address was Nevin, so that's why I confused that. Sorry about that. It's Nevin, I just saw.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's Nevin, yeah.
Okay. Oh, even wrong. More wrong. Nevin, sorry about that. I'll just say, yeah.
All right, so you're going to ask the question.
Perfect. With regards to the 30 days unoccupancy clause, how can we accommodate an owner that has a holiday rental unit and is hardly in South Africa himself? What is your suggestions in this case?
Okay. Are we going to get people to mute their backgrounds there?
All sorted. Don't worry, Nevin. Off you go.
Okay, great. Right. Whilst we understand that holiday homes, whether used exclusively by the insured, occasionally rented out to third parties, will very often remain unoccupied for periods longer than 30 days. And during the COVID period, we saw for even longer periods. So we cannot ignore the risks and the probability of loss in that regard. Other than theft and or malicious damage, we could also be concerned, we would also be concerned about geysers, burst pipes, and resultant damage caused by those. Remember also that the discovery of loss and or damage only after 30 or more days may increase the damage and subsequently increase our liability. So, we do suffer prejudice in that regard, in that the loss could have been minimized, had it been detected or discovered earlier. The only practical solution for the insured is to have a responsible and reliable caretaker in the area, preferably through a reputable rental agency, who will go out there once or twice every month to inspect inside and outside to ensure that all is still fine, and including testing the alarm if that was a requirement. This will then technically satisfy the requirement of occupancy, albeit for as little as 1 day. Technically, I say. I would rather encourage time and dated like photograph evidence that they were there, and time and dated communications reporting back, that they found the property to be all in order, taps were closed, appliances were turned off, all of those things. And then they could also, here's some, new technology that many people haven't considered. So they could also install a water leak or heat sensor unit. And this can communicate, via Wi-Fi or the internet, and alert you on your cell phone. So I think, and I'm not going to mention the big superstore that sells it, but these products are available locally, and they are available in these stores. They can also get the caretaker to go and investigate to try and minimize loss or damage here, and have the caretaker manage that sensors, or have the messages go to the caretaker as opposed to the insured that's sitting overseas, and can't do much about it. So that is, our take on that. Oscar, do you want to contribute to that?
Yeah, okay. Look, I just want to stress, Nevin mentioned this, but I just want to stress that generally the exclusions only relate to theft and malicious damage. And this comes from the market agreed commercial wording, the multi-mark. That was the way theft and malicious damage was dealt in the old days, and has continued into most wordings. As an underwriter, it represents CIB. I mean, Natal, South Coast, North Coast, certain places in Sea Point, certain places in Sandton. It would be reasonable to assume that there's going to be high levels of occupancy. Some of these blocks are profiled that way. So what we do is we will have a resultant water damage excess. We'll apply one for units that are unoccupied. Where managing agents and all the brokers are prudent, and generally in areas where there are older people, these guys worry about these things. We are specifically notified about unoccupancy. And sometimes these things can be managed. Sometimes there are stopcocks at an individual unit. Sometimes security is fine. Then you will waive these negative conditions. But it requires a broker. It requires communication.
Yeah. And it really depends on the insurer's risk appetite for it. If they feel that there's a high probability of loss, that the risk is inadequately protected, with whatever risk mitigation methods used, then they may say, sorry, we'll rather decline, or we're going to restrict cover in whatever way. So we'll underwrite it on that basis. But yeah, it's very variable. I hope that answers the question, first question.
I think that was very comprehensive. Thank you so much. If there's any questions on that, please pop into the chat box, everyone.
We'll keep my eye on there, Nadine. Very, very interesting. I love the idea of the technology to actually alert people when they're not there. I've posted a couple of questions in the chat function, not so much for you guys, but for the audience to comment. In my scheme previously, we used to have to put an extra key down at the security. And I know people didn't like that at all. Like, security office gets left open there, your key goes missing, or you need to notify the body corporate of a next of kin or an emergency contact person. Imagine if you didn't have to do that. You could literally control everything yourself. We don't mind sharing information. So Nevin, you're more than welcome to post in the chat function the name of that superstore. I think I want to go and check it out for myself. Always very interested in this type of technology. So please, if you want to recommend anybody or refer anybody, please pop the information into the chat or send it to Carl and he'll distribute it afterwards. Also, Nadine, sorry to interrupt you there. Back to you.
No, thank you. Thanks about that. Oscar. One unit is leaking into another unit. Fights between owners from who's responsible starts. The owner who's responsible does not take ownership of the leak, and the resulting damages is affecting the owners below. It was a leaking pipe, so there is no claim. How do we go about this?
It's a clanger. I'm going to turn this on its head. You've registered a claim. An insurer is never going to get involved in an internal dispute. Okay? Yes. Managing agents are very good at doing what managing agents do. They understand conduct rules and all the rest. Okay. So a claim has been submitted. There is damage to a unit below. Okay. Now, there are various wordings out in the market, and so that's why there's merit in using brokers. And Nevin and I both represent insurers in the intermediated space. We don't deal direct per se. Am I correct, Nevin? Yeah. So we're not direct underwriters. So a claim will have been, I'm assuming a claim has been reported to us. So in our peer group, it depends where that exclusion lies. So some guys will have a general exclusion, which means that all loss or damage resulting from a leaking pipe could be excluded. Not necessarily the case in all wordings. So certainly in our world, in our wording, the resultant damage suffered by the owner below, let's call him the aggrieved one, he has suffered damage. And if that damage was sudden and unforeseen, we'd be in for it. If it's been gradual and there's effervescence all over the walls and the rest, we have been prejudiced as insurers. And sometimes there might be a negotiated settlement, perhaps not. Okay, but technically we don't have to then foot up for the resultant damage. Okay. Now, if there's a squabble regarding excess, an insurer often was allowed, and again, most wordings in our peer group enable the insurer at their discretion to pay cash in lieu, to pay cash, repair or reinstate. When there's a squabble, we just pay cash net of excess. You'll know about it. These things are contentious and the rest. But if there's a leaking pipe, it doesn't always mean that resultant damage is excluded. Again, it depends on whose wording you're looking at. I hope that helps.
May I add to that? Okay, so adding to what Oscar's saying is, yeah, it's very important to determine what the source of that water leak is from your neighbor. And we know that, just give me a second. Right, so is it the common pipes outside the unit, which is the body corporate's responsibility, or is it from the inside of the unit? In other words, inside the median line of the walls, the floor, the ceilings of that unit. If it is the unit owner's responsibility, then the neighboring unit affected must formally request this, that his neighbor pay for the repairs. Yeah, if there's refusal to do so, then he or she can seek legal advice and send a letter of demand for the damage to be repaired. It's always advisable to ensure that good pictures or photographs, the actual damaged pipes, damage reports from reputable plumbers or professionals, invoices are kept, and that the costs incurred in repairing the damage were reasonable. Yeah, and yeah, so if it's any common property pipes, yes, then in terms of the policy wording, if the policy wording provides for that, the insurer should respond and for the body corporate's insurance. Yeah, and some unit owners have their own personal lines insurance. They could possibly try and claim from there, but it all depends on what were the circumstances. Was it sudden and unforeseen, as Oscar pointed out? or was it gradual deterioration? Okay, next question.
Fantastic, thank you.
I think there was just a question that popped up. Is that something we'll answer afterwards? Or
yeah, we can deal with the questions afterwards. No problem at all. Thank you. What I can say on this specific topic is that it's a massively hot potato for our consulting department. Owners very often think, I mean, it's a logical thing to think that if somebody else is going to cause water ingress and result in damage to their section, surely they should be responsible for it. You know, why should I have to pay for something that is not my fault? And people always believe that, you know, we've got insurance, the insurance must pay out, even if there is no maintenance and remedial work and constant care, which is not the case at all. Sometimes they forget about the insurance claim. And then, of course, there's always the fight about the excess payment as well. I don't know if anybody has had any experience, and they can post it in the chat function, where the body corporate has actually taken a special resolution that the body corporate is responsible for the payment of insurance excess. I've never seen that. They're very quick to recover that from the owner that is claiming. And the managing agents and trustees also have very different processes when it comes to insurance claims as well. Perhaps that's something, Nadine, that the guys can answer towards the end if there's some time left, but super, super interesting topic, definitely. Okay. Nadine, back to you.
Thank you. Question 3, explain sudden and unforeseen instances to the person not knowing anything about insurance. A lot of owners feel they pay insurance, like you just mentioned, and that it should be covered, doesn't matter what happens. So if we can please just have an answer on that to the person not knowing anything about insurance. Nevin.
Okay, taking that one. So let's consider the opposite of those words. What is the opposite of sudden and unforeseen? It would be gradual and foreseen. So I like using the example of water pipes, right? As some of us know, we have hard water. In other words, water with a high mineral content. This water and the iron release from, let's say, metal pipes causes continuous corrosion of the inside of the pipe. So the pipe gradually deteriorates over a period of time and eventually, breaks through to the other side, to the outside of the pipe. Now, this happens over, long periods, over years. Now, compare this to a pipe which suddenly freezes because the temperature drops below, 0 or -1, whatever, and it bursts due to the pressure buildup in the pipe. So now we see the freezing pipe, that was sudden and unforeseen, but the pipe that was gradually corroded over a period of time, where there were pinholes, where the insured may have observed rising damp, wet spots, a damp smell in the air, cracking of walls, cracking of tiles, lots of other evidence. And they do nothing about it, and that develops or deteriorates over a period of time. That is, gradual deterioration, which is an exclusion in terms of the policy. But sudden, unforeseen, you couldn't reasonably foresee that it would happen. And then it happens. I hope that was, simple enough.
Yes, okay. That was very clear. Oscar, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think in the context again, I mean, there's sort of two wording formats that prevail in the sectional title space. Let's deal sectional title specifically because we're a forum with managing agents. There are wordings that are written on a perils basis. In other words, a specific thing has got to happen. Fire, lightning, storm, wind, water, hail, subterranean fire, blah, blah, blah. And then you get ORIS wordings. Now, generally what an ORIS wording says, you need to have a loss which is sudden and unforeseen and not otherwise excluded. So sudden and unforeseen in terms of an insurance context actually comes from, or banded about in our lives, comes from those ORIS wordings. Okay. The more simplistic wordings, the perils wordings, they don't really have that sudden unforeseen thing to them. The reality is that when things burn and when water flows because of a burst, it doesn't matter which basis you're on, there's cover. But sudden unforeseen comes from the all risk type wordings.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Then we have, like we explained before, an owner feeling that they pay insurance and everything should be paid by through the insurance company. Doesn't matter the size of the claim or how much the claim is worth at the end of the day. Can you please explain to the person not knowing anything about insurance, how does small claims affect the body corporate's loss ratio at the end of the day? Should they claim for everything, or should they sometimes just look past it and pay the 500 Rand?
That's what we're there for. You have lots of little claims, they add up to a bigger number. You take your premium, the claims over the premium, and that gives you a loss ratio. That affects the cost of risk going forward. We live in a fairly commoditized space. I mean, products are like commodities, these sectional title solutions. I mean, it's sold at price. Guys go to market annually. But at the end of the day, if you perpetually submit small claims, it will affect your loss ratio in terms of the percentage that it calculates to, and will also affect an underwriter's view of the risk. Claims experience tells you that there's lots of little claims. Asperius is pretty busy. To settle a claim, to deal claims is expensive for underwriters. And so that influences an economic value of a policy in inverted commas, but it's a more expensive policy to run. And again, that will then influence acceptance or rejection. And if we do offer a quote, it will influence price negatively. In other words, we might charge a bit more. But we're a market. We're there. That's what we do. You got a claim, you may claim.
Till the renewal. The premiums goes up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what Nevin and I do. We pay claim. You know, we're in the risk game.
Yeah, no, that's true. Nevin, anything you want to? Thank you so much, Oscar. That was really comprehensive. Thank you for that. Nevin, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with Oscar. You know, we're there to pay claims, and if you know, why should they not claim for something? You know, when there is an insurance policy. However, there is a however. They do need to be mindful of that loss ratio, and you know, they do need to anticipate premium increases as a result of that. Or even, you know, in some instances, insurers can say, look, you know, we've considered, or we've had your policy for over 3 years, and every year, you know, the loss ratio is adverse. So we're giving you notice of cancellation, or we're not renewing your policy. You know? So you don't want to get into that kind of situation, because then trying to place it elsewhere as a broker is going to be an enormous task, quite a difficult task. And the premiums obviously will be more expensive. So yeah, just you know, manage it sensibly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Now, I think the one topic that's on everyone's minds, hidden pipes, aka concealed pipes. How does an owner maintain a hidden pipe? Leaking pipes are not covered, but how can an owner detect or maintain a leaking pipe which doesn't show immediate damages?
It's a clanger.
Yeah, that is a difficult one.
Please bear in mind that this is an everyday question from every yes. client ever.
Look, you know, it's especially on older buildings, it's almost impossible to maintain a hidden pipe. You know, if it's under concrete or, you know, behind brick and inaccessible, it's impossible unless, you know, you break through that wall to find it. But there is hope that there are many leak detection specialists in the market. You know, so it's important for the overall risk management of the body corporate for them to get, you know, specialists out, or they can monitor the water consumption. They can look for, you know, evidence of water leaks, wet spots, cracks, again, you know, and by doing routine inspections. And I would say, you know, maybe even like once a year, get a leak specialist out if you do suspect that your water consumption has increased on average, you know, abnormally.
Thank you so much. So it comes down to the technology again. At the end of the day, I think that might be the best answer for the owners, to just install that superstore technology at the end of the day, yeah. Probably.
You know, and yeah, there are also other products like flow meters and all of that, you know, that can be installed. Now I know in, you know, body corporates, one has to raise a special levy to try and get and then get everybody to buy into it. But yeah, if the cost exceeds or the benefit exceeds the cost, then why not?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate. Oscar, anything you want to add to
that? Yeah, look. So it doesn't really matter what sort of policy you look at. Gradual deterioration, wear, tear, rust, and oxidization, those exclusions come to play. Again, it is where does that exclusion lie, and how complete is it? I mean, certainly in our offering, each claim is dealt in its own merit, but we might exclude the repair to a pipe, but we might pay the resultant. Each claim on its merits. Unfortunately, it's not all cut and dried. But yes, there are offerings out there where they exclude the whole bank shoot or provide cover, but it's limited under the guise of this is for pipes, but then it's capped, you know?
Yeah.
So
thank you so much. Appreciate. Thank you so much. Oscar, public liability. Someone falls and holds the body corporate liable. What should the managing agent do, and what should they not do? How can they ease into the whole claim process?
Don't. Don't meddle. Okay. Your question's distinct, but I'm going to simplify it a bit easier because I'm going to make it easier for myself. I'm not very bright. Okay. There's a slip and fall. There's an incident that could give rise to a claim, It's an obligation under most policies for you to notify the insurer of any event that could give rise to a claim. Now, Nevin used to be a liability, or played in the liability world, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always roughly right in these things. But at the end of the day, for a liability claim to succeed, you fundamentally need a letter of demand. Someone's got to point finger at you and say, you have done something wrong as the scheme. Okay. So when you report the event, functionally, a claim might not be registered because you have not fulfilled all the requirements to facilitate a liability claim. In other words, there's no finger pointing, there's no letter of demand, but you have dealt the event. My advice to managing agents and the brokers who intermediate these things, if you know of a slip and fall, tell the insurer and might not register a claim. But then you do not prejudice yourselves.
Thank you so much.
That is the problem. late notification is a problem with liability. And you can go into claims occurring, claims made, and the merits thereof. Trick is tell the insurer and then take guidance from them.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Nevin, from the your liability side, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. So, the first rule is for the trustees or body corporate never to admit liability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Once again.
Yeah. And very importantly, you need to record the incident in as much detail as possible. Again, with photographs, evidence, CCTV footage, cell phone video, whatever is available. Even witness statements. And then, as Oscar pointed out, report the claim to your insurer as a possible third-party approach, or as legal liability possibly arising, and then wait for that letter of demand. Once insurers receive that, we'll review the merits of the case and make a determination to either settle if it's a small amount, or we feel that there is merit, or go to court and challenge it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Geysers. Is there a possibility to increase the geyser limits without a premium increase? If a premium increase is necessary, what are we looking at if it's possible?
Who's that for?
Nevin.
Oh,
yeah.
Me.
sorry, you were still on my screen, so I thought you were. Yeah, you on, please.
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is insurers had to absorb the additional costs of Class B geysers. So there isn't any room for increased limits without additional premium, unfortunately. But quite easily, the insured can buy up cover to the limit they require. And we would charge anything from 3 to 5% on the excess value of the normal geyser limit. So that would be per geyser.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very clear answer. Appreciate that. Oscar, anything you want to add? Are you happy with that answer?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a reason why you need additional cover. Okay. So either someone is profiting from the installation because a geyser costs what a geyser costs, and there is a mean a price for installing a geyser. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or there's additional cost related to installation, which might require changes to the fabric of the building. It might require repiping, or a decision is because of these Class Bs don't fit certain stacks, that these things are being installed externally and require bracketry and the like. Those additional costs mustn't be confused with, they must be separated from the actual geyser replacement value, And a lot of insurers have abilities to deal with those additional costs. But nothing is for free with geysers in the underwriting world, because...
Or in the world in general.
Those things,
There's such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah, they last 5 years and 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. No, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Oscar, then the next one is for you again. Geyser compliance. After 2018, there was a new act that came into place. Is there any way that you help an owner to make a geyser compliant, or do you just tell them it's not compliant and it's up to them? Is there any way that you help geyser owners with geyser compliance after a claim?
No, we don't, but it's also, the whole subject's almost mute again. So it is a bit like a soap opera. You've got lots of players. You've got the SABS who create the sands. You've got IOPSA, who's the plumbing body created by plumbers for plumbers. You've got PIRB, that's the registration board, and they deal with SAQA. And I think it's SANS 10254. I wrote it down because I thought it might. The COC is no longer required. As of June, I think it was of this year. So COCs are not required. If a geyser bursts, and that's the cover the insurer provides, you get given a geyser. If you need extra piping and the rest, well, technically that's betterment. That's not putting you in the same place you were. So generally, those additional costs aren't covered. Yes, there were solutions out there where geyser inspections happened. There were, I'm aware of, some demerit situations when a COC was not issued or a correct COC was issued, which had impact on future cover. But, you know, in our peer group, the enemy and ourselves, geyser burst, paid. And now we don't need a COC. We increased limits to pay for COCs. But now it's a thing of the past. And 10254 as it stands, been around, or as it originally, well, the installation rules changed, but years ago. So our experience account is that most geyser installations are roughly right. They have drip trays, they siphon correctly, they've got the copper, and there might be little elements that don't completely comply. They might predate or not the law. But often the unit owners just bought the unit or bought it 2 years ago. Yeah. You know, he's had all these inspections and the rest. You can't go and get pedantic about compliancy to absolute compliancy to these things. So geyser burst, we replace it. We don't, technically, we don't have to pay for the additional costs, you know.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Nevin, anything you would like to add on this, or do you agree?
I agree in the main. We have a slightly different approach on that, in that, you know, again, as Oscar pointed out, it's the insured's responsibility. So the onus is on the body corporate and the unit owner to ensure that they get, you know, something that is compliant. Now, yes, a compliance certificate is no longer required, but, you know, notwithstanding that, we ask for one. And, you know, we'll even in some instances pay for one, because it gives us the assurance about the work done and the compliance, you know, as opposed to, let's say, someone trying to save costs and they get a plumber that's not qualified. And, you know, months later, you end up with a huge resultant damage claim. So we want to get, you know, the comfort that it is compliant, you know, upfront.
Yeah, look, it's best practice. The question was, how do you get them to compliancy? I mean, if a geyser bursts, best practice is that the guy still issue a COC. And COCs are still being issued, but they're no longer a legal requirement. Yeah. From what I understand, the SABS are trying to get rid of, this is what I understand, COCs in all areas. And it sort of makes sense. I mean, you know, these guys are SAQA approved, qualified. You got the NQF. For guy does the work, he's done. He or she's done the work. They've done the work. They're the professionals. Why must you check the checkers? You know.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Then the next two questions are for both of you, gents, please. But Nevin, I think it's your time to start, so maybe you can just go first with this one, please. Where do you feel is there space for improvements in the industry if you feel there are any. Opportunities that you feel can be implied between the insurer and the broker or managing agent. A lack that you've seen that you feel can be streamlined between the insurers or the clients.
Look, yeah, we obviously work through a broker distribution model, so we don't have direct engagement or contact with managing agents or body corporates. But yeah, we're quite happy and we would be delighted to engage with managing agents and body corporates on specific risk transfer needs. Yeah, and we're quite happy for them to communicate via their brokers.
Let's probably find it also.
Yeah, and if those risk transfer needs are reasonable and insurable, then we'll certainly consider underwriting it. Yeah, we want to be as flexible as possible and accommodating. And yeah, we'll offer a tailor-made solution. If we can do it. I hope that answers the question. There are lots of needs. I mean, I can't think of.
But that does. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah. We also in the intermediated space, and and the other 2-3 guys also, they're not direct markets. They work through brokers. A problem is presented. The market resolves it. Tries to. Not everyone can do it. There are limitations in terms of understanding or risk appetite. But as a market, we generally do respond. So yeah, I mean, the Sectional Title Act is like codified law. I mean, there's certain covers you have to provide already. The fact that these things are understood, you've got a Companies Act in terms of HOAs, the solutions are already there. There's not much more to do to them. Often these things are more bespoke than the market is lacking in its response.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I see we had a 10-minute warning, so I'll just pop to my last question then. Additional risks. What would you suggest should be asked for to add additionally to insurance policy? Something that you see is lacking in policies at this stage. Something that you wish more brokers or managing agents would tell their clients to add to policies, because if they did have this, then all the fights would have been excluded.
I'm going to almost repeat myself here now. I mean, I think the market has responded to the requirements created by the various bits of legislation. Like you need to now cover smoke damage in terms of sectional title. There are a couple of ORIS wordings out there. These are covers that you're not necessarily going to find in the general commercial space. I mean, it is competitive in the sectional title market, or fairly competitive. And that's why there were so many UMAs involved, because it's a specialized area. And I think that as a market, as an underwriting market, we do provide more than adequate solutions. Things like these Natal storms that came up is damage to retaining walls by storm. Some guys don't provide the cover. We provide cover, but it's capped. Yeah, these are risks and possible product enhancements. But at the end of the day, these things involve additional exposure and therefore cost. When you live in this highly commoditized space, cost is a big thing.
Thank you so
I
much.
will leave it there, if I may.
Thank you, you may. Thank you so much, Nevin.
Okay, so very recently we enhanced our accommodate sectional title product. So in addition to many extensions of cover, we have new extensions, and it's based on the frequency of requests from brokers' clients, and they are a property crimes reward, right? And that's a 10,000 limit, generator hire, meeting room hire for the trustees, temporary accommodation for pets if the body corporate allows pets and the pet can no longer, or the unit owner has to live somewhere else, but that unit or that body corporate or accommodation doesn't allow pets, we'll pay for that. Leak detection, which we spoke about earlier, for 1,500. So, we've listened to some of the needs, and this is a product that we keep developing based on reasonable needs. And obviously we're underwriting it. It doesn't come for free, and we consider the potential for it to be frequent and high severity or low severity. That's how we make informed choices or decisions on how we're going to extend cover. Okay.
Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that. And that is us. That is our questions that we have. I don't know if there's any questions in the chat box that is really something that everyone wanted to know.
There are definitely some. Thank you so much, Nadine. I'm sorry for giving you that little bit of a warning. I just don't want the guys to miss the Women in Sectional Title webinar at 11 o'clock. Very cool about the temporary accommodation for pets. I had no idea. That is very, very nice. Okay, cool. Very cool. I know that hits hard with Nicole, Null, and myself, both of us being adamant pet lovers. So there's a couple of comments and questions on the group. I try to answer some of them and some of them I can't. So I'm going to just run through them and answer a couple if you don't mind. I answered Anna-Marie's question about the HOA, and I said to Paul, I think his buddy system where owners would leave keys with each other for access was a very, very good idea. Sandra asked the questions where we have units where owners move between homes in different provinces and it's empty for a long time. What is the impact there? I know that you did speak about the occupation issue. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Oscar?
With us, it would be excess.
Excess.
When there's water damage, you're going to pay an additional excess.
It is what it is, eh?
Yeah, look, I'm not a great salesman, so I don't always go and plug what we do. But yeah, we have an additional excess, but we also have caps on any excess that is a percentage of claim, because, I mean, you cannot expect to know when there's a real catastrophic or proper loss.
Yeah.
Now go and foot 20% of an entire repair bill.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the excess, and with us it's cap, but it's going to be a couple of bob.
A couple of bob. I haven't heard that one in a while. Well, somebody posted on the comments about an experience that they had where somebody went away for the weekend on the top floor and the water ingress actually ran down 6 floors. I mean, that's a proper catastrophic event, I would say, other than obviously an act of God. It's pretty hectic. Here's an interesting one. If the electrical fence is below the 1.5 meters allowable due to being built back in the day, what should one do as people can shock themselves and it can be a public liability against the body corporate?
Raise the fence.
Raise the fence. It reminds me of when somebody says, oh, it's sore when I do that. Don't do it. It's as simple as that, sort out the problem. Fantastic. All right.
That was a fair answer.
Yeah, very, very good. Let's see. Oh, here's a comment from Paul. If a COC is no longer legally required, I feel that the insurer should carry the cost for the certificate. So
well, we certainly always have.
You have? Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so, and I think there's 2-3 other guys who do. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Marion also says that they had a water ingress matter that ran down 6 floors and then ran straight into another flat on the ground floor. That's pretty insane. That's unlucky number 6. Here's the last question I think we'll raise, and then we'll open it up to the floor if there's anything. What happens if the geyser was moved outside and the outside isolator switch wasn't installed, and the electrical connection in the roof where the plumber joined to the original inside isolator causes a fire and the unit burns down? That's also very catastrophic.
This is now where we get into geyser regs again. There's certain things that plumbers are allowed to do in terms of connections, and there's other connections that have to be done by electricians.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's your buyer beware story again.
Yeah.
If you've used the right duct, you're not going to have the fire. If you haven't used the right people, then it might work against you.
Yeah. Paul said we'll need to review our insurance cover. Most certainly something that you should do, hey? Not just accept it every single year. We have posted VCIB's contact information online. And then, of course, thank you, B. You've done it there as well. You've sent Nadine's information, nadine@vcib.co.za, and your cell phone number. The guys, you've been absolutely amazing. Oscar and Nevin, do guys contact you directly, or does it all go through VCIB?
Brokers. VCIB.
Brokers. It's like me and Tashreeq. Everything goes through Tashreeq. Don't talk to me, talk to Tashreeq. Fantastic. Ladies and gents, are there any questions from the floor? You're more than welcome to raise your hand, unmute yourself. Otherwise, if you need to hop off, you're more than welcome to do so. We are sitting at about 3 minutes to 11 at this point in time. Just unmute yourself if you'd like to ask anything.
I just want to say quickly, if there are any additional questions, feel free to send it to Nadine. We will then send it to Oscar and I, and we'll try and deal with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Gee whiz. Any questions from the floor? Just remember to unmute yourself. Jonathan, I think your hand is raised. Off you go.
Hi, Zelinda. I just wanted to ask, do the underwriters prefer paying the body corporate, or do they, what is their opinion on paying the owner, who then goes and fixes it and gets a cheaper price and puts the whole complex at risk and the integrity of the building?
I'd like to answer that question. So our contractual agreement is with the body corporate, not with the unit owners. And the unit owners have a relationship with the body corporate. That's a different relationship. We're not involved in that. So we're going to indemnify our client, who's the body corporate. What they choose to do with that money is really up to them. And I hear the concern that they could not fix something, or try and save money and spend less on the repairs and all of that, but that is an internal thing that they need to manage.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question. Anyone else?
Good day.
Hi there, John.
How are you doing?
Good, and you?
All right, man. Listen, I just want to check on the late notification where somebody slipped and fell, and it's not always that the insured will be aware that somebody has failed, and that person can come back after 3 or 4 months. Shouldn't one consider that?
Yeah, I'll answer that if I may. If you don't know about it, you don't know about it, and you can't notify. What I was saying is, it is good advice to notify an insurer of any event that you're aware of that could give rise to a claim. So if you're aware of something, let the insurer know, let your broker know.
Okay. Thanks, Oscar.
Okay.
Thanks for your question, John. Mike, Mr. Addison, any wise words or any comments for your colleagues? I always pick on Mike. You're just on mute if you do want to comment.
I was going to say, is he still in the...
I wanted to stay very quiet today, please.
Never with me around.
No,
Hi, Mike.
It's all very good. Hi, everybody. No, very, very good. Well answered. Oscar in top form as usual. Thank you very much. Well done. As I said on Tuesday, Oscar's the guy that wants to stab brokers in the eye with a pencil. But anyway, there we go. Cheers. Well done. That's very, very, very well done this morning.
Fantastic.
That's all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks. Yaku, I saw that you commented quite a bit. Is there anything that you'd like to add? Also, just unmute yourself if you want. Not? All right. Ladies and gents, if you'd like to stick around and ask a couple more questions, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we'll end the recording here. And anybody that needs to hop off, they're more than welcome to. Anybody that would stick around, they're more than welcome to. Nadine, Nevin, Oscar, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the guys before we hop off? So,
Linda, if I could just quickly touch on that liability, the late notification.
Yes, please.
Yes, 4 months, is an issue. But if they have all the evidence and all of that, they still have to notify, the client. The body corporate, and the body corporate in turn must notify the broker to notify the insurer. But and often what happens is someone could slip and just walk again and think nothing of it, and the injury manifests later. Hence, the late notification, or why it took them 4 months to report it. So, one has to be reasonable in those circumstances.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Any other comments or questions that we have? We've got a lot of lovely comments in the groups. Yaku says he apologizes. He's got an IT issue and he just unfortunately can't unmute himself. Otherwise, I'm sure that he would have commented. We've had a lot of thank yous, very informative, very helpful. A lot of the guys had to jump off to join the other webinar. I don't know if there's anything else. Otherwise, we'll call it an end for today. Nadine, any last words from you?
I just want to say thank you for everyone joining. And if there's any questions, please, you have my cell phone number, you have my email address, pop us an email, send me a WhatsApp. I will get the answers back to you ASAP.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And to my team, thank you very much for your time. Oscar, Nevin, especially to you guys, thank you so much for your knowledge and your time. I know that it was very, very useful. We will be sharing this recording online and we'll notify the attendees via social media platforms that it has been shared. Please feel free to share it on your side. We've got a question about when is the next session. So our next event is going to be in October. Carl, just remind us of the date there.
The 18th.
18th, yes, and before then we're going to be at the NAMA National Conference, so Tuesday this time, Tuesday the 18th, and before then I think it's the 13th, 14th, 15th at the NAMA National Conference. Yeah, so it's a busy slide down to the end of the year, which we're very, very excited about. The end of the year, mind you, not the busy slide.
Just to correct you there, Zelinda, sorry, it's the 12th, 13th, and 14th.
12th, 13th, and 14th.
Before everybody has a heart attack.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a lovely day.
Sorry, I just also want to say thank you to Nevin and Oscar. You guys have been really a great assistance for this. Really appreciate it. Just also want to add Nevin is from HIC and Oscar is from CIB for the people that WhatsApp me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep well.
Bye.
Bye.